Good morning, everyone. We're about to begin the ceremony. Please kindly take your seats. Yeah. The others can please be seated at the back. Okay, good morning everyone. A warm welcome to Professor Datuk Seri Dr. Anwar Fazal, the President of the Dr. Lien Society, Professor Dr. Yang Farida Abdulaziz, our esteemed Dean for the Faculty of Medicine, University Malaya, Professor Dr. Sharul Bayar Kamal Zaman, Deputy Dean for the Postgraduate Program, Faculty of Medicine, Professor Dr. Victor Ho Chiwe, Head of Department of Social and Preventive Medicine Department, distinguished guests from the Lien Society, fellow students and my respected colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Dr. Lien Award Ceremony. I'm Dr. Bala, the DRPH Program Coordinator for the Department of Social and Preventive Medicine, Faculty of Medicine, and I'm your MC today. It is incredibly important for the Faculty of Medicine to recognize students' hard work by rewarding and celebrating them with a great sense of pride. Today's event recognizes extraordinary ability and commitment demonstrated by our Dr. Lien Award recipient for the Doctor of Public Health program. This award ceremony is a celebration of success, achievement, and the hope that students feel appreciated, that others also can be inspired. Without further delay, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Yang Farida Abdulaziz, Dean of Faculty of Medicine, to deliver an opening speech. Please welcome, Prof.
Good morning to all our respected guests present at this third ceremony of the Dr. Lien Award. This event is in line with University Malaya's vision of becoming a global university, impacting the world, and its mission to push the boundaries of knowledge and nurture aspiring leaders. On behalf of the University Malaya, I'm very honored to welcome our honorable guest, Professor Datuk Seri Dr. Anwar Fazal, who is the president of the Dr. Lien Society, and he himself a University Malaya alumni, which we get very excited when we welcome our alumnus back, and all the representatives from the Dr. Lien Society. I want to also welcome Dr. Wong Min Fui, aka Esther Wong, alias Esther Wong, the award recipient for 2023, Professor Datin Dr. Ng Chew Wan, a close friend, and Professor Dr. Sanjay Rampal, my lifeline as I now traversing as a new dean. The recipient supervisor, Professor Dr. Victor Ho, always a very sound and senior, but not so senior, but I've got to say this very properly, but always someone who will tell the faculty what it needs to hear. And we always appreciate that, Prof. Victor Ho. The head of the Social and Preventive Medicine Department, our colleagues from outside University Malaya, academicians and non-academicians, and students from University Malaya. The vision of the Faculty of Medicine, University of Malaya, is to be a global academic health science center that transforms society through knowledge and empowerment. It is our mission to nurture lives and empower communities through high quality and transformative healthcare scholarship, in education, research, service and leadership in a diverse and engaging environment. Public health is a unique area of health and medicine. The Doctor of Public Health, DRPH degree program, is the highest professional degree for individuals focusing on public health practice. It is also the degree that allows them to be admitted in the National Specialist Register, known as clinicians that's able to work and practice in Malaysia. And this is a very important distinction. It is intended for aspiring public health leaders and professionals and offers a flexible career that combines high-level leadership, management, and research. The career pathway of our DRPH graduates is indeed flexible and may include applied practice, applied research, teaching in the field of health services, and public health administration. But I think it is very important to know that the DRPH graduates will be key in all aspects of medical care and healthcare. I think they will be able to strategize big picture, as well as look at local, focal changes that we need to do. They will be able to transform whatever that we do into a value base that we ourselves may not have known or may not have nurtured and may not have shown people. And I think our colleagues, I'm not a public health person, I'm not clever enough perhaps, I'm a radiologist, but I think I can see how important our public health colleague is to even the field of radiology, and we look forward to always collaborating with them. So it is more than just a profession, I think. It is the backbone of medicine, if I may say so, and it can permeate all different aspects of medicine. It sounds very insidious, and it sounds very infectious, but I think it is important that it is like that. So public health practice is the strategic, organized, and interdisciplinary application of knowledge, skills, and competencies necessary to perform essential public health services and other activities to improve the population's health. The goal of the DRPH program is to provide a broad knowledge of public health combined with specific knowledge in the student's area of interest. It is orientated towards applied research in organizations and the direction and evaluation of public health programs rather than just an academic research and teaching. Now, this Dr. Lien Award recognizes one of our many excellent Doctor of Public Health DRPH graduates produced by this university. Professor Dr. Victor Ho will later further elaborate about this award and its requirements. He will also elaborate on the domains and processes used to evaluate the applicants, because we need to be fair and transparent in this. I would like to use this wonderful opportunity to thank the Dr. Lien Society for choosing the regional premier Doctor of Public Health program to remember Dr. Lien impact on our society. This award is indeed very meaningful to all of us at University Malaya, especially for the DRPH candidates, and we thank you for choosing us. I would also like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the efforts of our esteemed faculty members from the Department of Social and Preventive Medicine. I think they all deserve a big clap. The regional leaders for public health education for making this day a special one, especially for the recipient of this award. I thank all of you for taking time off and gracing this ceremony to celebrate a plague fighter's impact to the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Yang Farida. The Dr. Lien Society is an organization that was established in 2012 in Penang, named after the Chinese-Malaysian physician and epidemiologist, Dr. Lien, well known for his remarkable work in public health, particularly in communicable diseases. As a continuation to his hard work, the society has made outstanding contributions locally, internationally, and to improve health. For this reason, we are honored to have Professor Dr. Anwar Fazal, the president of the Lien Society, together with us. It is my privilege to invite Professor Dr. Anwar Fazal to the front to deliver a speech. Please welcome, Prof.
Citizens of the universe, if I can say. Yeah. And I see even the young people represented. Children of Mother Earth, brothers and sisters. It's a joy to be back home. I am an alumni, but an alumni who graduated this year I celebrate my Diamond Jubilee. Yeah? That's 60 years ago. Yeah? I joined the university in 1961. In 1961, when there were not that many buildings in this place, the joy was always the lake, where we had you can say, the necessity of throwing freshmen into them, largely to ensure that they get used to the fact that nearly every faculty was like, on college was located on a hill, and that you had to walk down, and that if you're not careful, you're likely to fall into the lake. And we thought that that part of the orientation program should be thrown into the lake. Of course, ragging was banned. And at one time, sadly, one student took exception to the fact that he was thrown into the water, and he reported to the chancellery. So the vice chancellor and his committee, unbelievably, expelled him from the university. My God, for doing such, important things in terms of knowing how to live in an environment that is up and down, and that has water, which even had fish on it, and other kinds of nice thing. And he was dismissed. He was a final year engineering student. So this was his last year, And I was then president of the University of Malaya Students' Union, and that was one of the things that was one of my joys. And we appealed. Appeal was rejected. And we then decided to appeal to the council, rejected. And we said then we have to go to the supreme authority. And that time, Tunku Abdul Rahman, our first prime minister, was like the chairman of the council, chancellor, I think, rather than the vice chancellor. So the only way we could get to see him was over the weekend when he plays golf. And we went in our my official car as president, which was a Volkswagen van, which was used simultaneously when the president is not using it as a bus service around the campus. It was like the first bus service that we had in this campus, a Volkswagen van running around, and people can go just quickly get up and get down. And we saw him, and he waited. And he came out after his golf with his good morning towel, And yes, Anwar, what's the problem? And we told him what the problem was. And he said, Ayo, Anwar, I know about these kinds of things, When I was at the university, I was naughty too, But the important thing is not to get caught. Once you get caught, it's very difficult, But the next day, when the university opened, I got a call from the vice chancellor's office to say that they've decided that he will not be expelled, but he will be suspended for that year. But he can continue to sit for the final exams, but not to attend classes. He can get all the documents, and he's allowed to have access for them. And he graduated as an engineer and moved on in a place. But it's amazing, the kind of place this was at that time. It was such a vibrant place. It was very human. It was cosmopolitanism. We had a Jewish person as a vice chancellor. Which is also, people say, huh, really? That's what we had in the place, and our lecturers, our staff came from all parts of the world, and I had also the privilege of being on the student health committee. I don't know whether you have such a thing still in the place, a student health committee that reviewed all the health programs and so on for students. And it was so interesting that so early in his life as a pioneering university that there actually was a council that looked at student health. And you would think, what do you need to look about students' health? They're all young and fit and running and everything else. I mean, the last problem, we should maybe have a old professors health club or something like that, but no, they had this student, and we had once a problem, and we had a clinic that was located in the first college, a small little clinic which provided the services. The doctor was trained in Germany. Malaysian, yeah, very interesting, to find a doctor with an unusual experience. And he had a student who had a little bubble in his eye, it's an irritating bubble. I don't know what the technical term for that is, and it was continuing, and he saw him 3-4 times, and nothing was helping him. Nothing was helping him. Then he decided that, hey, this was a doctor who in Germany also had studied psychology and psychiatry, yeah? and this was very important because behavioral things and so on are now so important part of health. And health is not just about collapsing and getting a pill. Yeah? And then he started chatting with him and talking to him, and he felt he needed some advice, he started talking and he started crying. See, he had a girlfriend, and they grew up together in school. They decided that they are going to be together forever. He got a place in the University of Malaya. She got a place in Australia. So they suddenly got separated, and he couldn't accept that going away. And that trauma got trapped into that eye. Yeah? It's very interesting how medicine, works. Yeah? And then when he cried and he told, all these stories and so on, and then the next week he came, the thing had disappeared. Yeah, it's very interesting how these things operate. I had also the joy of representing the university in 4 sports, which was unthinkable in that time. That to have athletics and cricket, rugby and hockey, all 4. And that time they had a system of honors. And one of the awards that I don't know whether they continue was the best all-round student. I thought when they called it the best all-round student, you have to be round a little bit, But there was one that you engage yourself in many things in the campus, and it was really a joy. There wasn't a nook and corner of the campus that we didn't know. When Indonesia objected to Sabah, Sarawak, Singapore, Brunei joining us. There are people here from Sabah? Yeah? Over here now? Yeah. And the student movement at the time decided that we will have a solidarity meeting. So all the students together will attend. And we had that on the Padang here. We had at that time, I think, about 1,000 odd students. So only everyone turned up, and we had a session where we expressed solidarity with our country, and showed our patriotism. And when I did it, I made sure that the Vice Chancellor was informed, that he was aware that we're going to have a big demo in this place, because otherwise when you have a big demo, they may suddenly call the police, saying there are troublemakers on that. He was quite happy. He gave us permission to to do that, and we did that that rally, and we were also a generation that was cheeky. You know, we always talk about laughter being about the best medicine, yeah, into the place. So sometimes we forget about these little straightforward things, and how people live, and you know, the day-to-day things. And we had a magazine that we called Blah Blah. Blah Blah. That's a nice name, isn't it? Blah blah. I mean, it's just like those, you know, you're fed up with that. That's always blah blah blah. I think they say that of professors, maybe, you know. No, blah. And then, of course, then suddenly, the government of Malaysia began to be concerned about security. Yeah, security. Yeah, and they decided that even student magazines had to have a permit. I don't know whether it still exists, that you have to have a permit. So our magazine, you know, had to now get a number. So we said, we actually protested about that because we felt in the university, there must be a certain responsibility, and if people don't do it well, then we'll discuss with them, we'll tell them, we change, they apologize, you know, whatever it is necessary, but the process of learning must be there, yeah, in that. And so we decided that we will be cheeky, outsmart them. So we changed the name to Blah Blah Blah, because it's no longer a regular magazine. Yeah, it's a magazine that now is a bit different and we had Welfare Week at that time, and we would take a lorry and we will go around, you know, the campus and outside, you know, asking for donations and, you know, and giving things, and even those kind of things later, you know, you sort of like had to take permits. Yeah, and when we joined Malaysia, something else spectacular happened. Yeah, Singapore, when they joined, Singapore said that Malaysia must introduce something that they have introduced in Singapore. And that's called a suitability certificate. Suitability certificate. You must be suitable to attend a university. My God, I mean, you know, I remember I had to take a medical exam, you know, to see whether I have, you know, any problems and, you know, things like that. But a suitability certificate? It means every student must be vetted by special branch. And this is 62, 63, yeah, when they joined. 60. We must have a check, because we don't want dangerous people in this camp. I mean, we used to have, you know, seminars, you know, we discuss Vietnam, we discuss, you know, we had people like Tan Chi Kun, you know, who was in the sort of Labour Party, you know, and he was even on the council and Senate in the USM, and we used to have debates, these kind of things. Suddenly, every student who wants to go in must have this kind of thing. We said, no, we had a fight to stop this idea, and Malaysian government decided not to follow Singapore's example. Singapore had its own, you know, discipline. When we were president of the Students' Club, you know, of the Students' Union, we had a national conference here in the university, and we decided that as part of the thing, because we are part of Malaysia, we're going to invite Lee Kuan Yew to come and speak at that meeting, because we wanted to ask him a few questions. It's a nice way of, you know, being challenging, you know, and moving, you know, into him. And so he refused to allow the institutions in Singapore, the Polytechnic University of Singapore at that time, you know, the Nanyang University, all of them to form a Singapore Students' Union. Can you imagine that? Yeah, and they actually would not allow because thought dangerous, very dangerous. Nanyang University was a particular problem for him, they will be influenced. It happened that the president of the University of Malaya, Singapore Students' Union, was actually a Malaysian. I invited him to come over for the conference and to interrogate Lee Kuan Yew. His name will be familiar to all of you, although he's not an alumni from here. He was an alumni of the University of Malaya in Singapore, earlier part, if you remember. His name was Dr. Ling Leong Sik. Dr. Ling Leong Sik. And Ling Leong Sik was the president of the University of Malaya, Singapore Students' Union. We both grew up together in the town of Taiping, and we knew each other very well. And he asked these questions of him, And Lee Kuan Yew was, at that time, his usual white shirt, white trousers, but he was wearing Japanese slippers. We all wondered, my God, why, And this will interest you as health people. He was suffering from Singapore foot. It's a disease. And it's got the name of Singapore on it. I thought health people might be interested in knowing about this, And you might Google, Singapore foot, it's a kind of, scratching and everything else that happened. And that was quite interesting. And I have a nice picture of him in this Japanese slippers because I don't want to forget that area. But we had these kinds of. I mentioned this because, when I talk about Wu Lien Teh, people think of Wu Lien Teh as a doctor. He invented the mask, and then he was a great public health figure. Identified the pneumonic plague against the bubonic plague because a German professor who was there in China said it was bubonic plague, and Wu Lien Teh said absolutely wrong, because he came from Cambridge and he studied communicable disease, and he knew the difference, and he knew also that the treatment is going to be very, very different in the place, and that's when he said this was spread by flies, could be spread by anybody, and being pneumonic plague, and he was different. I mean, he was like challenging things, and his character was that also of a rebel because he grew up in a very different kind of environment. He was in Cambridge, #1 student every year. He was there, #1 student every year. When he comes back to Malaysia, to Penang, where he came from, the same school that I do, Penang Free School, the oldest English school in this part of Malaysia, and they said you cannot be a doctor; you will be only like a assistant medical person. Only Europeans can be doctors. Only Europeans can be doctors. So you can imagine, 100 years ago, there was racism in this country. And he started the Anti-Racism Society. You go up Penang Hill, one part of the Hill Railway, Europeans only. The other one, others. So he fought. And he managed to get racism stopped. In UK, when he was there, opium was banned. He comes back here. Opium is the biggest revenue of the Penang state government. Over 50% of the funding of the Penang state government, the colonial government at that time, was actually licensing. It's just like licensing gambling, People pay a lot of money, and there were opium taukas, there were opium farms and all kinds of things around. A lot of imports, of course, from a number of countries. And he started the Anti-Opium Society. Yeah? And, fought for it to be abolished. And of course, he wrote to UK and so on. He wanted the colonial government to be embarrassed because all this was under the period. And of course, the colonial government said, what? You mean our government there is getting money out of opium? We banned opium. How can you do these kinds of things? So the government that was here and the Taukes, who were in charge of the opium, of course, were very angry with him. He had at that time bought over a clinic from a English woman, who was running a little clinic down in town. And what they did was that they raided his clinic, got him to open up his, where you keep the poisons, the special piece. So what do you call it? The level, And in it they found out, they said, you got opium here inside the cupboard. Yeah, opium. And you don't have a license to sell opium. And he said, what? I mean, I'm not selling medicine. Opium, opium as a public drug, as against opium as a medicine. I mean, as an anesthetic, it was quite common, and you gave this. It was there. All the clinics have it. The British woman who was there running the clinic, I mean, all this is part of it. No. They took him to court and fined him. So you can imagine this person called Dr. Wu Lien Teh was a little man, You find all these smaller men sometimes very gentle, very calm, but all the time very concerned. And he had to challenge. Yeah? So his life was being made really difficult, but he continued, and I'm sure he would have had more and more things that if there needed to be fighting. But the fact that he had stopped racism in this country, the fact that he had stopped opium in this country are things that are, very significant and not very well known. No? I forgot to give you a rubber band. Usually I give that to my wife. That's when I'm speaking for too long, she shoots the rubber band at me to tell me time is about to shut up in the place. Please, Dr. Ping, next time remind me about that. But he stood up. He stood up. He had that sort of courage, and he had the competence. I mean, because he was such a great scholar, of his time in IMR, where he did a lot of research and work, and there's a whole museum devoted to him at IMR. But after that, he got invited to China. And China said a few people who were advising the emperor, they said they had heard about this doctor from UK who knew very much about communicable diseases. So they sent an invitation to him to China. So at that time, with all the harassment that was going on here, I think he decided, I don't think he spoke Chinese very well even, that time, being a Penang Lang lah, always more English. And he went there. And that story you all know of how he dealt with the pneumonic plague, how he got everyone to do it. And one of the things that very often is not very well known is the fact that he also was someone who dealt with cremation. In China at that time, to cremate somebody is to send the person to hell, because hell was fire. Hell was fire. Yeah? And you cremate people, you're sending them to hell. Yeah? He said, if we don't do that, the rate at which the disease was spreading, because it was communicable, I mean, just pop, it was going like this up, and we do a chart. Yeah? And he wrote to the emperor, especially to emperor, to ask for exemption to burn all the bodies. And the emperor, he explained to him, he said, if you don't, China will be completely dead. And the emperor gave him permission. Then the cremation started. And once the cremation started, he actually went to the root of the health problem, and eliminated the source from which all the flies were taking. And after that, you had to deal directly with people who had, the disease, or whatever you want to call it, in the place. And zoom, after the cremations, the whole thing disappeared from China. And while the workers were dealing with this, because we asked them to cover up, and so after that, the idea of the mass came, and he worked there. He decided he didn't want to come back to Malaysia, because he said Malaysia is a place that time, still, Penang. He didn't want to come back to Penang, because Malaysia was complicated. We had the different states, and he didn't want to come back to a British colony. That's Penang, Maybe he could have gone to Singapore, but the colonial powers there said, be careful of this guy. He's terrible. He's a rebel. He'll create problems for you all. He decided he'll come back and he'll go to Ipoh. And he stayed in Ipoh, and different town. He didn't want to be away from his sultanate. And he went there and he started a simple clinic. Amazing. I mean, of a doctor who was so eminent, just a simple family clinic that he bought. And he did so much good work and he cared. People who wanted medicine, who didn't have money, he gave them the money. And when he did that one time, he was giving medicine. Someone reported that he was supporting the communists. Because he dealt with any patient who came to his place. And one of the patients happened to be a sympathizer. And somebody knew the person was a sympathizer. Then they reported him. And then he was called up, taken to the chief Japanese general. And the general, when he saw and he looked at his name, he had a chair, got coffee and tea for him, because he knew of Wu Lien Teh, how Wu Lien Teh had made the first World Health Organization conference on communicable diseases that time. I mean, he was a global pioneer in holding these kinds of things all over the place. And it's a result of that global thing. There were the first, for a global conference and so on, and also a conference in Japan. And he was that well known that this Japanese general knew of him as that famous doctor from China. That time, of course, he came from that time. He was based in China, but he was originally from Malaysia. And he became his good friend and allowed him to do this. And while he was in Ipoh, he just, decided to continue. There's a garden named after him. He was responsible for the library to be set up. So he had many interests. He was also invited to join the politics, because we were just getting independent, So there's a very beautiful picture of Tunku Raban, him, the MCA chairman, and Sambantan, the MIC chairman. And for a while, he thought he might go in, but he decided after a short while that he wants to stay away from politics, because he didn't like, to him, passion about public service was great. And so, over the years, of course, he decided, after Ipoh, that now that we are independent, I want to die in Penang. He moved over to Penang, bought a house. Within 2 weeks after his arrival and so on, he passed away at age younger than me. And he sadly, but we got a place named after him that time, a little place near the Penang Free School. They had a house named after him already very much earlier, from the 1920s, I think. So he was already so renowned that a schoolhouse was named after. All the rest houses were European names. Only one local name that he was that respected. So after that, after he passed away, he was like forgotten. And so we decided that we will resuscitate. But the idea of resuscitating him is just not the memory of him, but the causes that he fought for. And how we can now get the next generation, get the health departments, health people to remember the kind of competence, the kind of courage, and the kind of multiversity in your own life that you need, that he would be a legend, that he would be a hero. And with that, then we started the Wu Lien Te Society, and we worked on some 10 programs. We had 21 ideas when we first started, which we will make sure that every one of them is carried out. So with that, thank you all very much, and I wish all the best that we will continue this relationship, and that the next generation, the people who win this award, the people who are at the NCER, the Young Leadership Poster Competition, that we'll continue these kind of things. And I believe that if you want to have a future, then you must invest in the young. We must have the teachers, I call them the multipliers, and those who teach teachers, and I call them the accelerators. You find things will go, and this way we go, we will have a good health system, we will have a good society. Thank you very much. You can use contact to hit me. Anytime.
Thank you, Datuk Sri, for the words of wisdom. It was very inspiring for all of us. Through a collaboration between University of Malaya and the Dr. Wu Lien Te Society, established in 2021, the Dr. Wu Lien Te Award has been introduced and presented annually to the most outstanding student, the student of Doctor of Public Health, or the DPH program at the faculty. The first recipient of the Dr. Wu Lien Te Award for the best student in Doctor of Public Health in 2022 was Dr. Wan Kim Sui. And this is followed by Dr. Esther Wong Min Fui. And actually, we are quite privileged to have her with us today. Esther, thank you. Thank you for coming. And ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Department of Social and Preventive Medicine, we are once again very honored and proud to have another student this year for the Doctor of Public Health program to receive the Wu Lien Te Award in the third year it is being presented. So we will now be listening to a short presentation by our Head of Department, Professor Dr. Victor Ho Chi Wai, about the Dr. Wu Lien Te Award and the selection process involved to determine the best candidate for this award. May I please call upon Prof.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Bala. I think, good morning, everybody, and thank you, Professor Dr. Yang Farida, for coming here, and also our chief guest, Professor Datuk Seri Anwar Faizal, for actually giving us such an inspiration speech that makes my speech a little bit redundant, basically. All right, but since the things has been already given to me, so I just read it out and tell you about Wu Lien Te as the plague fighter. All right. So from my knowledge of him is only limited to what is written in the book that I have. All right, but not as much as what the work that have been doing for him. I think it's very, very good in the context that you mention him not just as a person, as a doctor, but also as an inspiration for our future generation, that we must fight for the good. That's the thing, not just to become educated, rich, and then forget about the people. All right. So without further ado, I would like to start by introducing Dr. Wu Lien Te. 2020 will always be remembered as the time when COVID-19 pandemic hit upon us. As the virus spread throughout the world, people were made to isolate themselves, and the norm working from home, the needs to wear face masks, and the practice of social distancing. Not many realize it. It's much a flashback that some practice that were pioneered in 113 years ago by a brilliant Penang-born bacteriologist, Dr. Wu Lien Te, when he was responsible to deal with the Manchurian pneumonic plague. That time, a deadly epidemic broke out in the town of Harbin, northern Manchuria. Cases spiked. Almost all who were affected died within a few days. In December 1910, Dr. Wu and his assistant arrived in Harbin. The situation was depressing. Temperature was freezing cold. The city had not enough doctors, and the dead bodies littered the streets, making the primitive, unsanitary condition of the town even worse. Some doctors would estimate examined patients without masks were soon contracted the disease. Dr. Wu conducted the first ever post-mortem exam in China. He found the presence of plague bacterium Yersinia pestis, and the evidence it was pneumonic plague spread through air by hosts. Knowing the disease was highly contagious and could spread from person to person, through the inhalation, he formulated strategies to control its spread. To keep the infected away from the others, disused school, warehouses, and other facilities like train cars were turned into isolation facilities. In addition, a new plague hospital was built while the old one was burned down. Wu also recommended the use of face masks so that people who protect themselves and others from the infection. Despite all the isolation and movement control order enforced, the infection and mortality rates continued to rise. In addition, there was another problem, which is dead bodies were piling up because of the ground had frozen solid to a depth of 2 meters, making burial impossible. He also found rows of corpses and coffins, all unburied. If the corpses were left unburied, they would pose a huge health risk when rats and crows would surround them and infected decomposing bodies and spread the infection further. The only fast solution was dealing with the bodies was to hold a mass cremation. However, this clashes with Confucius' belief. In this culture, paying respect to the ancestors and visiting tombs has been seen as the deeply respectful act for generations. Eventually, the containment measures began to have an impact on mortality rates started to falling almost immediately. In all the epidemics affected an area, the stench almost 2,800 kilometers of Manchurian, and it lasted 7 months and claimed some 60,000 lives. Dr. Wu Lien-tie, the personal life. His name does not exist in our school history book. I think that is something that we need to fight for. He was a Malaysian. He was born in Penang in March 10, 1879. At the age of 7, he studied at Penang Free School. At the age of 17, he has finally awarded the Queen's Scholarship after 4 attempts in examination. He then went to England to study in Emanuel College, University of Cambridge. He became the first Chinese ethnic to study medicine in the prestigious university. At the age of 24, he was awarded the prestigious degree of MD there. Wu returned to Malaya with his family in 1937, resumed his private medical practice in Boon Pharmacy in Ipoh. He finally retired from medical practice in 1957 at the age of 78. In mid of 1960, he moved back to Penang where he was born but died a few weeks later on January 21st, 1960. After suffering from a stroke, he was survived by his wife, Mary, and 2 sons and 3 daughters. The Times of London commented on January 27, 1960, by his death, the world of medicine has lost the heroic and almost legendary figure, and the world at large, one of whom is far more indebted to than it is known. Dr. Wu gained great fame as a pioneering plague fighter and became the first Malaysian nominated for a Nobel Prize in Medicine in 1935. Wu Lien-tie Institute was opened on December 25, 2015, and the aim is to research on infectious disease and share the resulting knowledge to everyone. Dr. Wu Lien-tie's Award. Dr. Wu Lien-tie's Award was established by a sponsorship from the Dr. Wu Lien-tie Society of Penang. Thank you very much. And we hope that this can continue. And I think it's an important award to recognize our achievement and collaboration. The society conduct research, promote, support activities, and to appreciate the contribution and the legendary Wu Lien-tie, a Penang hero who modernized medicine in China. This includes organizing lectures, seminars, and conferences related to work of the Dr. Wu Lien-tie, especially those relating to the field of public health. This award is intended to give recognition to the best candidate for the Doctor of Public Health program in the University of Malaya, effective from 2020 academic session. Dr. Wu Lien-tie Award shall be awarded annually to one student with the best achievement in program based on the 4 domains. So it's important that we actually look at 4 domains: leadership, community engagement, academic standing, and professionalism. So we are not looking at whether he has done very well in her academic, but we also need to look at whether he is a leader, he actually engaged with the community, and how he acts as a professional. So these are the 4 domains that we focus on. Other requirements shall be the candidate obtain the highest marks and not less than 65% of the evaluation mark from the entire prescribed domain. Candidates graduate in a period of not exceeding 8 semesters from the date of commencement of the candidate registration. The prize will be in the form of cash with a value of 1,000, medal and certificate. The award shall be made by the Senate on the recommendation of the Jawatan Kuasa Pemilih. No award shall be made in any academic year if there's no candidate fulfilled the criteria. These are the domains evaluation. It consists of 25% for leadership, 25% for community engagement, 25% for academic standing, and 25% for professionalism. This is the flow chart for evaluation. So we basically screen the candidate. The assessment is done within the department. After the department, then there is a committee form in the which is chaired by the dean, deputy dean or postgraduate, HOD or program coordinator, 2 academic staff from SBM, 1 DRPH alumni, would basically select from the list of candidates and then select the best candidate to be awarded. So the award will go to the final level, which is approved by Senate. Award recipient will receive 1,000. So this is a flow chart to show that there is transparency in what we do. It's not that he is my student, he was my student. It's not that, all right? It's never that. The previous 2 years, they are not my students, so. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to take this moment to acknowledge our previous award recipient. Our first recipient was Dr. Wan Kim Sui. Our second recipient was Dr. Wong Min Hui, also known as Esther Wong. We are especially honored by Dr. Wong Min Hui with us here today. All right. So, we are delighted to announce today awards winner. Please join us in congratulating Dr. Vivek Jason Jaya Raj for his outstanding achievement. Allow me to give some brief recognition about him. Dr. Vivek Jaya Raj is the 3rd recipient of the award. He graduated with Master Public Health from the Faculty of Medicine, University of Malaya in 2019. He pursued his doctorate in our faculty from 2019 to 2022. Vivek Jason Jaya Raj is a public health medicine specialist, currently serving at the National Institute of Health, Malaysia. He is a professional with a keen interest in confluence of data analytics, epidemiology, infectious disease, and health system. His portfolio includes key projects on epidemiology of COVID-19, the effectiveness of non-pharmaceutical intervention, and the comparative impact of health system on COVID-19 transmission. With a passion of data-driven solution, Vivek has been involved in developing and implementing mathematical, time series, and machine learning models to forecast the spread of infection disease, including dengue, COVID-19, hand, foot, and mouth disease. Vivek strongly advocates the integration of data and comparison in creating a promising future in healthcare. He relentlessly strives to reduce the time gaps in data-driven solution with the realm of infectious disease and health system, working to shape the world where technology and humanity meet to improve health outcomes. Department would like to extend our sincere appreciation for our valuable contribution during the sharing session, How to Survive Through Your DRPH Degree, as part of DRPH Orientation Session 2023-2024, held on 23rd December 2013. His insight and guidance have undoubtedly enriched the experience of our participants in providing them with essential tools and perspective as they embark on their DRPH journey. His commitment to education and mentorship is truly commendable. We would like to invite Dr. Vivek Jaya Raj to come forward to receive the Lien Award, and let's give us a round of applause. Can we invite also?
Thank you, Prof. I think you can stay back on the stage. Now the highlight of the day, the award ceremony, which we have all been patiently waiting for. I would like to invite Professor Dr. Yang Farida to accompany Professor Dr. Anwar Fazal to present the Dr. Wu Lien TOR Award to this year's recipient. Please welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Vivek Jason Raj as the recipient of the Dr. Wu Lien TOR Award for the year 2024 to the stage to accept the award. Congratulations, Dr. Vivek. Well done on your hard work. Shabas. Come.
You can go to the bank now. You can go to the bank now.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sri, Dr. Yang, and Prof. Dr. Victor. You may kindly take your respective seats. Dr. Vivek Jason, we will not let you go. Back to your seat. Please remain in front. The stage is yours to share some few words of inspiration from your side.
It feels like Viva all over again. Good morning to the Dean of Faculty of Medicine, Prof. Dr. Yang Farida, Prof. Datuk Sri Dr. Anwar Faizal from the Wu Lien TOR Society, Head of Department of Social Preventive Medicine, Dr. Victor Ho, my beloved mentors, Prof. Sanjay, Prof. Chuan, Prof. Sharul, and all of the department that is here today. I've got a bit of a spiel here. I'll try and keep it short. I'm honored and humble, first of all, to receive this Wu Lien TOR Award. I'd like to just reflect on my journey so far. I began my journey in public health, I think, almost a decade ago in Sabah. At that point of time, when I finished my housemanship, I wanted to be a physician, an infectious disease specialist. But life has other plans, I suppose. And I was tossed from one coast of Sabah, KK, and I went to Tawau at that point of time. And I was given a choice at that point of time. I could either go to a place called Kalabakan, and this is on the fringes of Maliau Basin. Rural is an understatement. And or I could take up a mixed posting where I sat in the CDC in Tawau and also put one foot in the primary care health facility. The rest, as you say, is history. I decided not to go to Kalabakan. I stayed in the CDC in Tawau. In CDC in Tawau, it was a completely different world. Obviously, coming from the hospital, going into the community, it was a world unlike any I had been used to. There were babies with tetanus from, unhygienic cutting of the cord, children with diphtheria, never seen before. The jungles were still filled with malaria. We had cholera still sweeping through communities there at that point of time. And strange occurrences, things like people tapping electricity leading to fires and tragic things like that. The experience was a very raw introduction, I think, to public health. And all the things that we take for granted that public health has introduced to us, all these counterfactuals. It was a counterfactual of what, Prof. Sanjay is smiling, of what is our normative reality, right? Running water, electricity, nutritious foods, all these elements of public health that we take for granted, they didn't have it, right? Simple things. And it was in that position that I learned the impact that public health could have. And I learned to be passionate and really love the wonders of public health, the simple things. This road led me to UM. That was in 2018, and I think it's fair to say there was quite a journey. Late night assignments. I was with Prof. Victor, and we did some interesting stuff in my first year. Prof. Chuan's, I always say that she has the most wonderful introduction to economics, how the real world works, the levers in which civilization and how it functions. Prof. Sanjay's mind-bending and blowing introduction to causal inference would fit right into a Christopher Nolan movie, I would think. And all the different things. Social behavioral health still feels like a foreign language to me till this day. But it was such an enriching experience. I moved on to DRPH, and we made plans at that point of time to study colorectal cancer. I had my proposal done, and then the pandemic hit, right? And we were, at that point of time, we were pushed into UMMC, and we were doing some interesting stuff with COVID-19, analyzing the data, and we had to pivot. So we shifted from a proposal that was primed to study colorectal cancer to COVID-19. And so my thesis became a mixed bag. Data science, a little bit of epidemiology, a little bit of infectious disease. But I found myself in a place, again, the universe taking me to that place, where I was very comfortable with, I was very passionate about it, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. I guess I can say that retrospectively. In real time, it was a bit like an action movie. And I'm glad that I had that experience. And so over the last actually just this 1 week, preparing for this speech, I had the chance to ruminate over that experience. And like a proper Quanti person, I came across several common denominators. And I'd like to just share some of these nuggets, wisdoms, life lessons that I've learned in these 4 years here. Thought one. There was one question early in MPH, and I don't know if Prof. Vic remembers this, but a student asked Prof. Vic, what is an easy subject that we can get A's in? Right? And without missing a heartbeat, Prof. Victor answered, that's not the right question. At this level, it's not about A's and B's. It is about developing yourself, developing your skills, and that is how you must decide what electives you take. That's something that I took to heart that day, and I've tried my best to practice his word to this very day, because at the end of the day, we can talk about all the powers we don't have, but the single power that we do have is to improve ourselves. And that is what we should aim to do. To take courses and develop skills, to do hard things that push you to your edge. And that's something that I've tried my very best to do. The A's, the B's, the CGPAs, the honors, they will come. And even if they don't, you're left with something far more valuable, an improved version of yourself. And more recently, this has begun to make ever more sense to me. I've met many people who complain, and I'm very sorry for saying this, but who complain that education here, not just here, but education has been purely academic. It's non-transferable to the public health operation. My education has showed me that academics that's not the truth, right? It should not be confined to classrooms, and the lessons that we learn here are directly transferable to our professional lives, if only we take the lessons as what they are, right? Really building our character and our life. So I think what I'd like to say is that it's important really just to align our focus. Thought number two. Now the DRPH journey, I think most would agree, is one that is lonely, not my words. One is challenging. As I mentioned, I first started in 2019, planned for a nice big colorectal project. Didn't happen. Went to COVID-19. I had a baby. That little baby was born while I was doing my DRPH. And as you can imagine, there was a lot of stress and anxiety. But Prof. Sanjay, who's my mentor, he channeled his inner Master Ugue, I suppose, and his Zen-like tone, and he said something that stuck to me till this very day, right? He said, just keep working every day. Don't worry about tomorrow. at the end of your journey, your work will consolidate itself into something meaningful. And I don't think he knows this, maybe he remembers it. But from that point of time, I approached my thesis in a very different way, right? I would treat it like a day job. I would clock in every day at 8 to 5. I would come to the homeroom downstairs. We didn't have this nice looking room at that point of time. And we would sit down from 8 to 5 every day. There would be no one to check on us, right? No one except yourself. So it came down to a lot of resilience, discipline. And I believe that those are values that are essential, not just to complete a PhD or a DRPH, but just to find some semblance of success. You owe it to yourself to do that, I suppose. So if you are doing a DRPH and PhD, my advice is simple. Just keep chugging. You'll get there. And finally, thought number 3. I think this is possibly the most important things. I have been very blessed to have been taken under the wings, under the tutelage of some very, very good leaders. People who are able to trust you, empower you, enable you, and showcase tremendous humility despite their stature. I had Prof. Sanjay, I've had Prof. Victor, Prof. Chuan. These are all giants, really. And in UM, I think the training that they put on me was to allow me to have freedom and flexibility to express myself. And that's extremely empowering. It was extremely enabling for me. It was an education that I felt that I thrived in. I enjoyed thoroughly. And it's a thought that I think, as I move on into my professional career, that organizations must aim to emulate such leadership, where we build a culture of expertise while always maintaining humility in resistance of the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? Focus, resilience, discipline, leadership. These are the features that I believe would be in line with the spirit of this award. Features which we must unlock and move forward, move public health innovation forward. Now, if you have another 5 minutes, I've got a little bit more just to say about my thoughts on public health. Current landscape of public health, I think, is analogous to concepts of System 1 and System 2 thinking. This is a concept that was introduced by Daniel Kahneman, thinking fast, thinking slow. System 1 refers to our fast, automatic, and intuitive responses, while System 2 involves slower, more deliberate, and analytic thinking. Public health has seen monumental breakthroughs. Think about sanitation, hygiene, childhood vaccinations. The impact that it's had on health and society is immeasurable compared to a lot of all the things that we take for granted. We can thank public health for that. Now, these advancements have laid the groundwork for healthier populations, and we now operate almost autonomously in our daily lives. We open the tap and we've got clean running water. That System 2 thinking that existed 100 years ago has now become System 1. Now we face contemporary and emerging public health challenges. We need to shift back to System 2 thinking. We need higher order problem-solving skills to address complex and nuanced issues. Just in case anyone hasn't noticed, there is a looming climate crisis around the corner. Population is rapidly aging. There's an impetus to solve non-communicable diseases. Every now again, we have nuclear war being threatened. And depending on who you ask, in a couple of years, AI will be our overlords. Now, I'd like to share just 2 thoughts on where we fit into this big picture, right? And I think this dichotomy is birthed from the 2 sort of schools of thought that I was trained in under Prof. Sanjay and Prof. Chuan. The first is the quantitative side of things. We all hear about machine learning, data science, AI, statistical learning, things I'm very, very passionate about. I believe that it has the potential to revolutionize public health, to accelerate System 2 thinking within our current health systems. I've thought about this for some time, and I believe heavily that System 2 thinking and AI, machine learning, can really help for more precision within public health. There needs to be a recalibration. We need to think about a consequentialist paradigm within public health. And I think that to increase precision, we need to leverage our analytical intuition to impact society. Just yesterday, I'm not sure if every one of you have been aware of this, but GPT-4o was released. And the stuff that it does is mind-blowing. There was this individual, one use case where you had a smartphone, and the individual is blind. And the video that the smartphone takes is directly transferred into speech, and the phone is explaining to the blind individual what he or she is seeing. Now, the question that we need to ask is, how can we leverage on these multimodal large language models, generative AI, within public health? Now, the way I see it, we need to really regain our intuition within quantitative sciences. A detachment with these sciences can lead to significant misinterpretations, flawed decisions, and I think most dangerously, the emergence of these black boxes can strip us of our quantitative agency, which is extremely dangerous. So we need to really think about accelerating human capacity within public health by way of machine intelligence. Developing synergisms and capacity in public health will be key, I think, to future-proofing public health. Which brings me to my second point, and I'm almost done. In our ever more capitalist societies, we see inequalities constantly growing. I read something very interesting the other day that says, not since World War II have we observed such degrees of wealth accumulation in the top 1% of the world. We really should not need another world war to bring equity to this world. The market-based approaches that we currently have, they drive innovation, but they often overlook the unequal starting points of different populations. And it's crucial to understand that we are not alike. Our health journey begins from diverse circumstances with diverse determinants driving us in different directions. And we need to really think about reducing health inequalities in addressing the broader social factors such as education, income, employment, system-level changes that perpetuate the cycle of inequality. We must advocate for System 2 policies that promote social integration and equitable access to resources. Advancing public health in the 21st century requires us to move beyond our System 1 successes and embrace System 2 thinking. By focusing on AI and equity, this will accelerate our progress while maintaining the soul of public health. And I believe, and I'm optimistic that we can navigate these complex challenges ahead. Receiving this Wu Lien Teh Award is an extreme honor, but I hope and believe that we can do more. We must take our triumphs and transform them into tangible changes in public health. Finally, like any good publication, I would like to end with some acknowledgements to the Wu Lien Teh Society for your consideration of this human that has much yet left to learn, so much left to do. Thank you for this recognition. Professor Sanjay, Professor Chuan, Professor Victor, my teachers, my successes, if there are any, they are built on the shoulders of giants such as yourselves. My colleagues and friends, Diane, Ali, Esther, Rowena, Lai, Ang, Fadlim, all my classmates. It's been quite a journey and continues to be quite a journey. Stay steadfast to the cause. To all the other, my beloved profs and staffs in thank you for making such a wonderful journey for me. And finally, to my family, I've had the privilege of having my mom and dad here with me today. To my wife, Nat, Jamie, and Stephen, thank you for being my platform. Thank you for giving me ambition, hopes, dreams, and for allowing me to do the things I do. Finally, to my little girl, Shiloh, my daughter, my brightest light. We are inconsequential among the billions of stars that light the universe. Choose every day to shine nonetheless. Stay curious always, my love, and be fearless in your questioning of the world. Thank you again. I'm deeply grateful for this award and the recognition that it presents. I look forward to continuing my work in public health and to contribute to addressing the pressing issues of our time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vivek Jason Jairaj. Such an inspiring address and very insightful and very disruptive in your thinking future, So this is what we need. Yeah. The function of a supervisor is to assist and advise to the student in the design, development, and completion of a research degree program within the stipulated time. The creation and enhancement of an effective supervisory relationship is crucial to function of a supervisor. And in many ways, this relationship should be smart partnership premised on a win-win situation or orientation. From the start, both parties must negotiate, mutually agree on how they will work. Dr. Vivek Jason was supervised by Professor Dr. Sanjay Rampal and Professor Dr. Datin Enchuan. Without further ado, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Sanjay and Professor Datin Dr. Enchuan to share a few words of wisdom and inspiration. Prof. Sanjay or Enchuan? Prof.
What is there left to say? Look, we know him as a lover of numbers. This is a guy who is turned on, and I don't mean it in a bad way, by a mathematical formula, right? This is a guy who goes to a conference and come back to us all excited. There's a new statistical model solution to analyze a set of data. Gives me a headache, makes me frustrated, not that man, but me, because this translates to another chapter in the ever-lengthening story of his DRPH thesis. But as you all heard just now, there's another side to him. He's also a lover of letters and a lover of words. This is a guy, again, who goes beyond what my set reading list is. And in class assignments, recite paragraphs from Mahathir's a Doctor in the House. And in a discussion in my room over some blah blah mortality data set, we got distracted. Why? He made a connection between thanostology, I can't even remember the word, which is the study of deaths, and Thanos, the villain in Marvel Universe. Got totally distracted. But I must say, from this, the study of letters and the study of his skills, his analytical skills, from his study of numbers and the study of letters, okay, brought him to this point in his career and his time. It has stood him well in his chosen field of public health, his chosen profession as a public health researcher and practitioner. We've heard before from various speakers how, in a sense, the epidemic in China gave Wu Lien-teh an opportunity to show the world what he's worth, why the world should admire this great man. Well, back in 2020, this man seated there, and his merry band of students helped us make sense of what is going on, not just in our hospital, in Malaysia, but the world. How COVID-19 hit us hard, turned our whole lives upside down. He was not the only student who were with us throughout that journey back in 2020. Okay, Esther was here, Lai was here, there's a whole jing gang of them. But each brought with them a certain special skill, certain special something. Okay, we had students who were fantastic at organizing our ops room. We had students who were fantastic in trying to communicate messages to our staff in the hospital. We had to deal, if you remember, our social butterflies who flitted from department to department, and we had to track. We had to do contact tracing on why there were outbreaks all over the place. And we had students like Jason who could make sense of data, who could tell us where is that source, okay, and who could assist, and I'm sure we've got Yang and Cheryl here, who could assist the leaders in the hospital to manage COVID-19 better, okay. We all remember the late nights where we had KFC and pizza. We'll never forget that. We'll never forget the friendship and the teamwork. I mean, it was a dark place, but goes to show, Jason, you were fantastic, and so were the rest of the gang. I know him to be ambitious. He's already stated he would like to learn from the best and to work with the best in the world, and someday hope to be counted among the best. I wish him well, and I will follow your successes in the future, okay, closely. All the best, Jason. Go out there and conquer.
After so many people have spoken, I think I don't have to speak much, right? Maybe a bit about how I met Jason, right? So true, I don't meet students that much during their initial years, but when he became a supervisee of me, right, we started on a journey. And from his background, we can see that he actually had a lot of interest in communicable diseases, right? But we had to be pragmatic in moving forward. So that was the initial plan of doing like a spatial temporal mapping of cancer in Klang Valley. And the idea was to leverage and to build up on the data analytical skills. Then with COVID-19 coming, when COVID-19 came in, one of the biggest issues that we identified was actually the problem of reporting and forecasting. And the idea that there were many interventions being instituted without proper evidence base. And I think this was a passion of Vivek, whereby the idea of developing the evidence base, right? And more importantly, thinking through the methods. So that's where I come in. See, I and Chuan, we complement each other. We complement each other in the way we supervise students, and I think we do need each other when we supervise students for them to get the best out of both worlds. I'm very quanti, right? So it was a pleasure to discuss in our weekly or bi-weekly meetings about problems that we were facing as a nation, and what was the methodological solutions that we can come up. And I think one of the things that Vivek can show the nation is the dashboard that he came up with. The dashboard on COVID-19 reporting, the epidemiological dashboard, preceded, if I'm not mistaken, even MOH dashboard. And that was one thing very good about his ability to think about fundamental science, to translate the evidence, and then implement solutions. And that also speaks of another aspect of him, where if you think that Wu Lien Teh was an applied epidemiologist, a shoe leather epidemiologist who had fundamental lab experience, I see a lot of similarities with Vivek Jason, whereas he possesses those skills and the drive to create fundamental knowledge, but does not stop there, moves on to implement those interventions with the idea of the betterment of the society, right? And I would like to congratulate him for all of his successes, wishing you a lot more. And as Chuan had said, we look forward to you becoming a global leader in the coming future. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Sanjay and Prof. Ng Chuan. Such inspiring speech and kind word of wisdom for Prof. Dr. Vivek. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for being here today. It has been a wonderful gathering enriched by insightful speech and valuable words of wisdom. As we draw near to the conclusion of this event, it is important to acknowledge that those who have made today not just possible but also a success. At this juncture, we would like to invite Professor Dr. Yang Farida and Professor Dr. Victor to the stage. We would also we are also privileged to have Professor Datuk Sri Anwar Fazal and the Volunteer Society with us as a guest of honor. So we may ask request Professor Dr. Anwar Fazal to come to the stage. We would like to present a token of appreciation. This is a small token from us of gratitude for the significant contribution for the Volunteer Society has made by joining us today in this memorable event.
I'd like my Secretary General to come and join me. This is a young man again who, like Dr. Wu Lien has done so many things, and his simplicity is amazing. Come. Come. This is the future. That is the future.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Dr. Yang Farida and Professor Dr. Victor and Dr. C. You may all be seated. Thank you, Dr. Vivek Jason. Again, congratulations. Before we end the ceremony, just a small word that Volunteer Society has actually brought their books. Anybody interested, we have it here, and we can purchase it over here. And before we end the ceremony, it is important that we can make the ceremony memorable. For our photography session, can I please invite all the guests of the hall to kindly move to the front of the room so we can nicely capture everyone in a picture. Ladies and gentlemen. I think Prof, you can sit there, right? Sit there. Yes, Prof.
Yeah, good. Sit on the left. Get them to sit on your left. Sit with Papa.
So if you're daddy, or your papa, or your what? Datang depan.
Pretty dress.
Jangan tinggi sangat, nanti dia nampak pendek.
Tak line tak masuk. Tak ada white.
Oh, tak ada white. Okay. Masuk. Those? Okay, don't talk.
Okay, ready. Okay, smile. 1, 2, 3. Okay, freestyle. Okay,
Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our ceremony. Thank you all for joining us. We look forward to seeing everyone again at the next ceremony. Lunch is served at the Synapse located at level 4. We will see you there shortly. Enjoy your lunch. Thank you.
Good speech. Very well. System 1, System 2.
Picture all of us with you and with the society.
Okay. And your medal. Oh, sorry. Hold your medal. Hold your medal.
Special.